Well, hello, friends that are watching this replay. I am Heather Osterheis, and this is my friend Brian Mann. Brian and
Hi.
his wife Skyla are diamonds in Young Living, and I asked Brian if I could interview him today. Sunday, when I was traveling to church, we were following a van that had one of those bumper stickers on it. Brian, do you have one of those bumper stickers that's round and says
Yeah,
26 point something?
26.2.
And it got me thinking about network marketing. So I want to share some thoughts. I want to interview Brian. My first thought when I see those bumper stickers, Brian, is I can never do that. Have you ever felt that way about running?
I don't know. I've gotten to where it started to become old hat now, but certainly there was a time where, yeah, that was kind of a big deal. And every now and then, if I go too long in between, it becomes a bigger deal again.
So for those of you who don't know Brian and his wife Skyla are diamonds in Young Living, and Brian has been running marathons for how many years?
Since, let me see, it'd be 16 years.
So 16 years you've been running marathons. But not only that, tell us about your recent accomplishment in Hawaii.
Okay, so 2 years ago, March, I ran a marathon in Hawaii, but what made that one significant was that was my 50th state for running a marathon in. So I've run marathons in all 50 states now.
Wow.
And at the time put me in a pretty elite group of about 1,000 people in the world who had done that.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So I sit here and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, a marathon in every state, let alone just one marathon. I could never do that. And I know when I started my network marketing business, that was my response to doing network marketing. I could never do that. So talk to me about how many marathons have you run now total? Do you know your total?
Yeah, so far I've completed 72 marathons.
72 marathons over the course of, do you know how many years?
What did I say? 16 years. And certainly some years I do more than other years. I think my record for 1 year was 11.
11 in 1 year. And
Yep.
so, yeah, oh my goodness. So I think sometimes when we hear about these achievements, 11 marathons in 1 year, a marathon in all 50 states, being able to run multiple marathons in your lifetime, it's easy for me to look at that and just say, well, he's just born a runner. I mean, he's just gifted. And I think people have that response in network marketing too, when they look at someone's success or what they've achieved. And it's easy to say they're just lucky, or they were born with some gifts, or they just had some natural talent that took them to where they got. And I think what we find is that isn't necessarily the case. So let me ask you, Brian, how long have you been running, or when did you first start running? Talk to me about the very beginning when running became, something you started playing around with. What did that look like?
Okay. Well, I ran track in high school, and then when I got into college, I actually had some money there to run track in college. So I did that for 3 years, and admittedly, I wasn't that good at track, but my senior year, I went out for cross country and realized, oh, if I go further, I'm actually a lot better at that. So I had a good season of cross country there. And then, I kind of ran some years, and some years I didn't. And, life kind of got in the way. But, I was kind of running again. And one day my next door neighbor is like, hey, Brian, I'm signed up to do the Des Moines Marathon in a couple months. And I know you like to run. At that time, I was probably running like 4 miles every day. And he's like, why don't you run it with me? I'm like, well, sure, And I ran that one. And I had a so-so experience because I really wasn't as prepared for it as I should have done then. And a guy at work convinced me, like, hey, Brian, there's another one at in Sioux City here in a couple weeks. Maybe you should try that. I'm like, well, sure, surely I can do better than the last one. Well, of course, that one didn't go nearly as well as the first one because I was really undertrained and way too close together for someone trying to do these undertrained. But I think at that point I was kind of hooked on it. But it was almost a year before I actually was able to run another one again, or before I kind of worked back up to it again. But, I think after that I got a little more serious about it. It's like, oh yeah, I need to, I can't just go run 4 miles every day or around the block. It's like I have to actually put in some real training miles, and I have to go further and, try and get some long 18, 20-mile training runs in and that type of thing. But
okay, so you're telling me the first time you ran a marathon, you had run before, but you didn't do very well. Tell me about that first marathon you run. What happened? Did you run the whole way? Did you finish? Did you not finish? Talk to me about that experience and physically how you felt during and after.
Well, the first half went really well. And I was running with my next door neighbor, and there were a couple other friends that he had. So we were kind of running together as a group. But I suspect I got to maybe around mile 16 and realized, oh yeah, that wall that they talk about, I hit it. And I was cramping up and really pretty painful, but, kind of walking, limping, jogging a little bit here and there. But I finished it, and that's what I really wanted to do.
Excellent. So before you ran your first marathon, you had run in college and high school, but in college and high school, what was your longest distance before you started training for the marathon?
Yeah, so in college, in cross country, we would run 5 miles. And so I could run 8 or 10 miles, but that was all the further I would ever really train. I hadn't really trained to go much further than that. And admittedly, I was probably a better runner in college than, at any time after that. But
because there was some space between your college years and when you started running again.
Yeah, there were quite a few years in there. And so there were years where I didn't run really much at all. But, I think at one point I made a decision in my life, it's like, hey, I have to get back in shape. And I realized I wasn't in very good shape. And so I decided, it's like, okay, I should start eating better. And, it's like, okay, I can run 4 or 5 miles every day. And that's where I got to.
So it sounds like there was a time when you were even starting your marathon journeys, right? Like, because I think most of us, at least me, not being a runner, I think running a marathon is the ultimate achievement. But that you just blew the ceiling off of that for me. That's not like the ultimate achievement for runners. There's more to it. And there was a time when you started running that you were doing marathons that you still had to get better. So there were times where you could have given up. You could have said, okay, I've done my marathon. I did it. Woo, I reached my goal. I'm done. You didn't. And you could have said, wow, that was really hard. I cramped up. I hit the wall and I finished. So I feel good. I'm just not going to try anymore. So talk to me about that, because I think we hit walls in network marketing. We hit times where things get hard and it feels like we've given it our all and we're at the end of our rope. But you pushed through in terms of running. So what did it take for you to push through and to keep doing more marathons? As you did the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th marathon, what were you doing differently? Because there were things that you were changing, tweaking, stretching, and growing yourself. What did that look like?
Yeah, well, certainly, I think the first one, if you get to mile 16 and you're starting to cramp in a marathon, it's like you've still got 10 miles to go. But I think somewhere along the way, I had told some people. I told my wife, and I think she was kind of throwing like a little surprise party at the finish line for me and invited some people to come over to our house to celebrate. It's like, okay, I have to finish this. No matter what it takes, like, I have to finish this.
So the motivation was there because you had told people. You didn't want to let them down. You didn't want to look bad. And you had people cheering you on.
Yes.
That was helpful to you. Okay.
Yeah, but you know, but at the same time, it was still a lot of fun, and it was a good challenge for me because it was kind of reaching me beyond where I had been before, and you know, every time I'd run there for a while, it's like, oh, this is like a new record for the farthest that I've gone. But you know, after that first one, I thought, well, you know, I can do better, and I started getting in with a group of other people and running with them, and I was running with the Capital Striders, and you know, every Saturday we'd get together, and you know, they had a plan for it. You know, it's like, okay, 3 weeks you go, you know, like 10 miles one week, 12, then 14, then you kind of back it back down, 12 miles, and it's like, you know, 14, 16, 18, then you kind of back it back down, 16, 18, 20, and you know, they had a plan where they started with, you know, at this time, the Des Moines Marathon, and it was like, I don't know what it is, it's 20 weeks or something like that to go from, okay, I can run around the block to I can run 20 miles and do that several times. Like, then I'm ready for a marathon. But
So you're saying that for running, the community was important, and
yep.
so was the plan. Someone showing you a plan, a way, a tried and true method to reach your goal. So you had a goal, you had people working with you to achieve the goal. Also, amazing advice for network marketing. I love it. Okay, so talk to me about this goal to run a marathon. I mean, obviously you've got medals behind you. We can see how many races you've run. When did it become, wow. When did it become a desire for you to run a marathon in all 50 states? When did that become a thing?
Well, I think I ran Des Moines for 3 years, you know, once a year. And after a while, I thought, well, you know, it's not for another year away. And I put in all this training and effort and everything. I thought, well, maybe it'd be fun to run another one. So trying to think what my second one was. I think it was like Overland Park, Kansas, or something like that, or maybe it was
It's a little bit farther from home, maybe a few hours from home.
Yeah, just a few hours from home. And then I thought, well, you know, as long as I'm doing this, you know, I know other people who have talked about like this exclusive club of, you know, 50 states. And I thought, well, I don't know where this is going to lead, but, you know, maybe I'll just start crossing off a few states, you know, and then after a while, it's like, okay, well, this is kind of fun. And, you know, and again, even doing the 50 states, you know, after a while, like I got into really good shape for several years there. And I thought, well, I can roll out of bed any day of the year and at least complete a marathon. You know, I may not win it. Well, I didn't win any of them, but you know.
But that's neat that you were saying to yourself, you know what, I want to be in a position where I can look up a marathon a week from now and decide that looks fun. I'm going to go do it. That you had prepared yourself. Now, if you had just run into somebody at the airport and said, hey, I'm doing this marathon. They're like, oh, really? Yeah, you know, I just learned about it yesterday and I bought my plane ticket. And they're going to be like, what? How can you do that? They didn't see the preparation leading up to it, right?
Right.
So talk to me about what is your daily schedule? Darren Hardy says in his Compound Effect that it's the little habits over time that add up to the massive success that helps you reach your goals. So what are your daily habits?
Yeah, well, certainly for me, it's working out every day and running like 6 days a week. I take one day of rest, but you know, Saturdays when I'm really into it, it's like, okay, I want to go at least 10 miles. That's like an easy day, you know, and I want to work up to, again, you know, I've got some sort of a plan where like, okay, I know I'm heading into the fall season. There's going to be a lot more marathons. You know, if I know that I'm not going to run a marathon for a couple months or a few months, it's like, oh, I should probably run further than 10 miles. I should probably get up to, you know, 16 or 18 like that. And certainly if you do them often enough, you know, like where I'm doing 11 in a year, it's like, well, I don't need to do the long runs because I'm getting the long runs in every time I do a marathon. But, you know, and for as far as the 50 states, again, you know, there's a lot of planning there where, you know, even after it goes beyond the physical challenge, it's logistics, it's time and money. It's really,
Yeah.
and after a while, I'd come out with a plan. It's like, okay, well, I know that there's a marathon in Connecticut on Saturday, and then there's one in Rhode Island on Sunday. So if I fly out on Friday, I can run a marathon Saturday, drive to the next one, and then I can get back and go to work on Monday if I want to.
That sounds like me trying to plan my classes out of town or my family trips, with classes. So talk to me about, I know now that you are your full-time Young Living, but what's the difference between being full-time? I don't know. I know when you were full-time corporate, you got up pretty early in the morning to get your runs in. Is that still your routine, or do you run a little later in the morning now?
Well, it used to be I've got a standing running date with some of my friends on Tuesday mornings at 6 o'clock. It used to be, I could sleep in to go to that 6 a.m. Now it's like, I have to get up early for that 6 a.m. run.
Because you used to get up at what time to go run when you were working full time, when it wasn't a Tuesday?
Oh, I'd get up at 4:30 or something like that to go to the gym and go run. And now I have to make sure I help Reagan get to school, but I can be a lot more flexible with my time.
Yes.
And,
but that habit is still there.
Yeah.
The habit of the fitness and the running are still a part of your routine. It's just a different time of day now that you have more time freedom. What do you do to condition your body besides running and fitness? Are there other things that you do to support your body?
Well, certainly nutrition is a big part of it. I found that if I'm just going to eat junk food, I'm probably not going to do very well in my workouts or in my running or or races. And so after a while, you kind of figure out, it's like, if I eat this the night before a marathon, I can probably have a pretty good race. If I eat that before a marathon, it's like, I'm probably not going to have a good race. But, even then, it's, things that you do day in and day out, it's like, I don't want to, just because I run doesn't mean I can eat cake and ice cream every day.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
So was there ever a time, there's so many tie-ins here to our network marketing business, just the planning, the daily habits over time, taking care of ourselves, making a plan, like having a goal and then making a plan to reach your goal. But then you have to actually do the plan, right? So you could have said, I've got this marathon at this date and time and buy your plane ticket. You could have started running, but, make a plan for the running schedule. You've got your community in place, but you still had to wake up at 4 something in the morning and do the work, right, of running. And you still had to say no to the junk food, and you still had to say yes to the healthy food. Have there ever been times where you thought to yourself, it's too hard, maybe I'm just not cut out for this? Or have you had those thoughts? Talk about that.
I don't know. I try not to let those thoughts creep into my head too much. There are going to be times where it seems easier than other times, but when you set a big goal like that, you have to keep focusing on that. And so just day in and day out, like maybe I'm going to slip up today or tomorrow, but I know, okay, next day, get right back on the plan, get right back to it.
Yes.
And just keep looking towards the final goal.
I love that. So the same. I feel like in my business too, there have been times where I feel like maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm not one of the lucky ones. This is just too hard. But then because I have that community of people saying, Heather, I know this is your goal. I'm doing this with you. Come on, let's get back on. That was just a bad day. That was just a bad class. That was just a bad night. You can do this. Do you feel like your community helps you do that? Certainly your family's part of your community and your running buddies. How do they help you out in those times when you're feeling like, you know what, this is harder?
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I was talking about, I have a standing Tuesday morning running date with some of my friends. And so I just know that no matter what, it's like, okay, unless it's just downpour or something like that, I plan on, it's like, okay, we're going to be there Tuesday. And after a while, you kind of get into the running community. And so the Saturday morning runs, I go out with the Striders and there's like 70, 80, 100 people there, depending on the time of the year. I know that, hey, this is where my friends hang out. Like I want to go and just kind of hang out with my friends and that type of thing. But also you find, once you kind of get into it, like, there's a lot of other people that have similar goals. And it's like, hey, I can help you, you can help me, we can run together. Because quite frankly, if I'm going to go for a 20-mile run by myself, that's almost just painful. It's long, it's boring. It takes the whole morning almost, But I go out with my friends and like, oh, hey, this is social time. It makes it so much easier and so much more fun to just have other people to go with and do it with.
I feel like it's that way in our Young Living community too. There's just so many. The longer you're in Young Living, and the more retreats you go to, and the conference and convention, you just start finding your people, right? You're like, oh, you homeschool, and you're into natural health and wellness, of course, because you're here. But about fermenting, and you have this many kids, and we just start to develop these communities of people that are doing life all over the world, but that we can connect with virtually, that spur us on and cheer us on too. So when I came to Young Living, I thought my goal was just this small dollar amount per month that we needed to make a difference in our income. And when we blew past that goal quickly, I was looking for the next goal. I really didn't ever think I would get to Royal Crown Diamond or even where we're at now at Platinum. It just seems so crazy to me. But I know when we start something, we can only see so far. Did you think when you started running in high school or even at your first marathon, did you ever see yourself where you're at now, having done a marathon in all 50 states? Did you ever think that?
I never would have dreamed that in high school or college. So I had a goal in college. I thought, oh, I could do one marathon. And, I kind of trained for one back then and it didn't work out. And then it was like 10 years later before it even crossed my mind again.
So your first marathon was a bust because you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And you still didn't give up. That's amazing. I love it. Okay, so I think you've already achieved some pretty amazing things, but Skyla tells me you've got a little flutter in your heart and you're thinking about something beyond.
Well, I've certainly got some bucket list goals. I want to keep running marathons, but at some point I want to do like an Ironman triathlon. I think that's kind of one of those bucket list goals. It's like, okay, and for those of you who don't know, it's 140.6 miles total. So you swim like 2.4 miles, then you bike like 120 miles, and then you run a full marathon, 26.2 miles.
So you've got the marathon part down, right?
Yeah.
You've built up for that. But it sounds to me like maybe you're going to need to learn some new skills in order to reach a new level, a new goal, which is similar network marketing. We all reach places where we're at the end of our skill set. So how do you plan to further your skills in this area? Because it sounds like you're going to need to learn some new skills.
Yeah, and that's where the community comes in because I've gotten to know a lot of people through running, and a lot of them are kind of doing some triathlons or some Ironmans, and so like I look at swimming, like I'm not a great swimmer. Like I can get in the water and I'm not going to drown, but I don't know that I'd really call it swimming, But I've got friends who they swam competitively growing up and in college, and they've done Ironmans, and they're like, hey, you know what? We can get together and I can give you some pointers and I can show you how to, do this and, give you a workout plan that'll help you incorporate swimming in along with your running and add some biking. And, that they can kind of give me some pointers and some feedback and tell me how I can improve myself so that I can make that happen.
So do you, along with your community, do you have to have any kind of personal trainers or new equipment or anything for these new goals?
Well, certainly there's some equipment involved, like obviously I need a bike.
Oh, a bike! And not just like the 10 speed down at the local Walmart, right?
Yeah, probably
a certain
not.
kind of bike.
Yeah. And I've got friends who are like, oh, we'd love to go shopping with you. We'll help you find the perfect bike.
Yes. Now, can you just swim in swim trunks? Is that how that works?
I don't know. I haven't thought quite that far. I know that most of the people are not just wearing the jammer shorts.
Well, and then too, you're gonna swim and then get on a bike. So there's got to be some kind of like change of clothes, I'm guessing.
Yep. There's a lot of logistics there involved with changing clothes, and if you wear the full Speedo bodysuit in the water, that'll make you more efficient in the water. I know that. And then transition into something that you can wear on the bike, and then into something that you can, you know, run in, but certainly you don't want to get all chafed or anything because you're all wet coming out of the water.
So there's lots there. It sounds like you're in research mode. You're trying to figure out what's it take to meet this goal so that you can kind of put a plan together.
Yep.
So yeah, totally applicable too. I'm just thinking, you know, as we reach new goals or we think about something that's out of our skill set, we have to research what does it take to get those skills and how can I get those skills? And then then the next step is to do the work to train, right? Once you put your plan in place and be doing the work. So you've been in network marketing alongside Skyla now for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years here. What parallels do you see between your running and network marketing that we haven't maybe talked about yet?
Well, certainly there's an evolution in there. So much like, you know, running, going from around the block or, you know, a 4 or 5 mile run to suddenly going for a marathon or even something further than that. It's kind of like, oh, the same things. Like, yeah, okay, well, I had very limited skills with network marketing and with Young Living. And, you know, Skyla certainly had a lot more skills, but then she's kind of been slowly coaching me or giving me some feedback or some pointers. It's like, oh, hey, you know, you guys should maybe, what if you started a men's breakfast group or something like that? So we've been doing that. I know John's come a couple times, you know, chance to get some of the other men involved, but something that I can do. And, you know, she's really nice about helping me along with some baby steps. And certainly I did IT work for 25 years. So now as I come home, I realize it's like, oh, you know, that's kind of, you know, we've started to develop a decent sized downline with several thousand people. And it's like, oh, you know what? I can write scripts that'll help us go through and figure out like, oh, well, who just fell off of ER or, you know, things like that, and find some of those things like, oh, we should contact this person. And, you know, I can put systems into place that'll, you know, help us send out new ranker gifts and things like that. And, but, you know, there's certainly an evolution involved with that. So much like the running, you know, I didn't start with the marathon on day one, and everything that I'm doing now wasn't the same thing I was doing 5 years ago.
Yeah. So as I think about, you know, network marketing and this idea that we can look at people, I mean, certainly people who know you and Skyla's story. Skyla went to silver in her first month. She increased to 10,000 in volume. People can look at that and say, well, she's just lucky. Or they can look at the people who've hit diamond and think they're just lucky. But the truth is, each person comes to network marketing with their own skill set. And we don't see that. You know, we didn't see the years that Skyla was in 4-H and learning how to present and stand in front of people and present. And we didn't see the years that she was just developing being a natural networker in life. Skyla just naturally has developed the ability to talk to people wherever she goes and connect with them in life and connect them to other people. And so when she met a product that she loved, it appeared to some of us that she was just lucky. But we didn't see the groundwork that she had laid all those years before, much like you're running. And the same thing with some other diamonds and crown diamonds who seemed to us to have gone really fast. We didn't see the work that they put in before they met network marketing. But each of us come with our own set of skills, and some of us can hit silver without really having to do a lot of personal development because we already come to the table with a lot of skills. And some of us can hardly get to star or senior star before we have to work on developing some skills or work on our own character and our own personality, and how we present ourselves to people. And so I would just say, you know what? I don't think Brian was born a runner.
No, definitely not. And coming back to Skyla too, understand that, you know, in the month where she did hit silver, she worked really, really hard. And, you know, more than, you know, it wasn't just like she had a class a week. It was like she was having 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 classes a week. And, you know, I'd be at work and I'd come home and she'd had 2 classes while I was at work, you know, and
Yep.
she'd have one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and then she might even have one again that evening too. Definitely a lot of work, but yeah, you know, for Skyla, you know, a lot of things come naturally to her now, but you can tell that, she's evolved and developed her skill set along the way so that she becomes much more efficient as she goes forward.
Yes. So even yeah, we all grow and learn. I love that, Brian. You're right. I think that the formula, and I've heard this somewhere. I don't think it's definitely not original to me, but you nailed it when you said it is her hard work plus her skills that have equaled her success. And so, how much skills do you bring to the table? Or how much are you willing to develop your skills further to make that equation bigger? Plus your hard work. How many classes are you willing to do? How many people are you willing to invite? How many no's are you willing to get, or no shows, or no answers? How much of that in order to get your success? So the lower the skills, the lower the effort, the lower the success. The higher the skills and the willingness to develop them, and the higher the work, like the harder the work, the greater success you'll have. And I believe faster, because when those are high, then you get Big Mo on your side. And when you have Big Mo and lots of momentum, then you just take off. Brian?
I was still working on it too. I mean, learning new
Yes.
things. I don't know how many Audible books she goes through a week or a month, but every morning, she's listening to some book on that she's downloaded and learning new things. It's like constantly developing your skill set, constantly moving forward.
I love that. I'm glad you shared that. Skyla definitely is a person that is willing to work on herself. She's willing to learn something new. Definitely when you're reading a book, you're learning from someone who's done it, gone before, researched it, and it definitely shows. So you've got a good one, Brian.
Thanks.
And thank you for sharing your story with us. And congratulations on your running, and keep us posted on the goals from the marathon, the Ironman. I mean, woo! Do you have a date for your next marathon yet? Or are you in research mode for the Ironman?
I don't know. I need to get something on the calendar here.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Brian, and tell Skyla hi for us.
All right. Thanks, Heather.
Yep. Bye.